Unraveling the post-Gupta period, we also studied the rise and impact of the Vardhanas, a celebrated dynasty in the history of our land. Introduction. Post-Gupta period in the history of Indian subcontinent, between roughly the 6th and the 8th century CE, was also the time of constant changes in the political, social and cultural constellation of the subcontinent. Although the powers of different regions rose and declined, the Vardhanas came on stage and formed an influential factor and then shaped the history of India during this period. This post intends to zero in on the rise and fall of the Vardhana Dynasty, which has brought about a seminal change in the course of Indian history significantly. The Vardhana Dynasty, telling about origins and rise to power. The Vardhana dynasty soon grabbed the power in the phase when the Gupta Empire went down, and what was left behind was nothing more than the political vacuum. Head of the dynasty, Rajyavardhana, put his foot in the area of Thanasar settlement situated on the territory of modern Haryana province of India. Originating from the delineated royalty, the Vardhanas first served as the vassals of the Guptas who loosened their grip and began to rule in their stead. The reign of Rajyavardhana is regarded as the first time of the emerging dynasty when a core was formed and then the consolidation and expansion process started. By the strength of his armies, military power, and diplomatic skill, he, Chandragupta Maurya, could write his name with large parts of the current northwest India, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. Nevertheless, it was the successor, Harshavardhana, who laid unto the Vardhana dynasty a legacy of previously unparalleled power and eminence. Harshavardhana, Vardhana's strength to the last. In the year 606 CE, a new epoch in the history of Indian subcontinent began. That was the time when Harshavardhana, one of the greatest rulers, took over as the king and commenced his unpredictable endeavors to conquer North India. The name of Harshavardhana is still popular for his administrative ability, patronage of the art and his religious tolerance. He also represents the best period of the realm during which the kingdom prospered and the culture bloomed. During Harshavardhan's reign, Kannauj had become the hub of politics and culture. He made the place as his imperial capital. The city of Kannauj still has the magnificent architecture of Hindu and Buddhist temples that were built by him. Xuanzang, the famous Chinese wanderer, who traveled to India in this era, writes about the excellent architecture and monuments of Kannauj. He narrates the town as a hub of cultures with a lot of development and people from different nations. Being the enthusiastic patron of Buddhism, Shaivism, and Vaishnavism, Harshavardhana made it the realm of religious concord, thus granting access for the mass to the various philosophical schools and sects. He turned the court into a forum for scholars, poets, and intellectuals who collectively gave an intellectual setting which was responsible for the visit of various luminaries in the region at that time. The decline and disintegration. However, the high waters mark of Vardhana rule of Harshavardhana is accompanied with various challenges which gave rise to the Shunga dynasty. The death of Harshavardhana in 647 AD marked the beginning of succession problem that led the empire into crisis as the power was softened and dispersion started. As another newborn regional power, the Chalukyas and Pratiharas removed the great grip of Vardhana Empire on its territories. Along with the inner conflict that erupted together with the invasions of the Huns and the Arabs, the mighty dynasty which was already in its decline was finally forced to crumble apart. Legacy of the Vardhana dynasty. Legacy of the Vardhana dynasty. By the fact that Harshavardhana's rule lasted only a relatively short time, it does not follow that the dynasty's influence on Indian history and culture was temporary. Generosity and art support remains as the swan song of King Harshavardhana, the very stuff that still inspires people with awe and respect for him. On the trajectory of Vardhana, art, architecture, literature, and philosophy development were a significant fact. The Maharoli pillar of iron, as claimed by the time of Chandragupta II, perfectly motivates the world of technology in those days. Esteemed poets such as Bana and Harsha, who were courtier in the Vardhanas era, wrote polarized works that preserved the glory of the court for our generation. In addition to this, the Vardhana dynasty proves to be an important milestone in changing the political condition of India during the Middle Ages. The decline of the Gupta Empire, on the other hand, was the stepping stone for the rise of regional kingdoms and the consequent lineages of dynasties to carve their own place in the Indian history. Conclusion: the Vardhana dynasty takes a centermost position in the history of India, which not only stands for valor but also reflects advancedness and artistic excellence. The dynasty's story, despite its obstacles, is still a witness to the unyielding eloquence of India's diverse and colorful history. While thinking about the post-Gupta period, the case of the Vardhana dynasty leaves a deep mark as it reminds us on how history is changeable and human spirit is unbeatable.